Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, Fishing Booker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, Fishing Booker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. Fishing Booker. Fishing trips made easy.
Friends of NRA is your chance to support our Second Amendment rights and preserve America's hunting traditions. Join Friends of NRA at one of our 600 exciting events nationwide. From games to auctions and exclusive firearms, Friends of NRA events are your chance to support a cause you care about while having a great time with patriots in your community. Whether you're a seasoned shooter, an avid hunter or outdoorsman, or passionate about freedom, there's a place for you within Friends of NRA. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you. Stand up for freedom with the Friends of NRA.
All right, welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast, Kevin and Chuck. Today, well, we're going to talk about prepping. Who knew, right? Well, we're going to talk about prepping and kind of the Mormons' take on it. Because I got to say, there's a lot of insight that could be gleaned from what they do. One of the things I've always wondered about is how the majority of churches in America, the idea, and I don't mean just Mormon, I mean churches overall, is the majority of the churches are very big on outreach and helping people and reaching out to the community. I don't know if it's a majority, but a large number. But one of the best ways to being able to help others is by being prepared and able to take care of yourself so you're not the burden. And then hopefully you have extra that you can share with your community and your people. And I'm always surprised that that's not discussed more and built up as a self-reliance thing. Now, the LDS Church, the Latter-day Saints or the Mormons, we're not talking about their religious philosophy or whatever. That's not really the point of the episode, although Kevin may have some insight. I see his eyes going, so I feel like there's something there. But the big thing is they have been an established church for a very long time, at least in, here in America, obviously, since they had that whole finding the books and all this. But they have a long history, and they have a long history of preparedness. And they actually used to encourage their members to have a 7-year supply of food. That's a big number there. And then they cut it down to 2, and then they cut it down to 1. But still, a year per family member, that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. Now, they talk about initially what a year of food storage is, and it's not crazy. They're basics, right? Now, don't get upset when you hear what this is, but they basically say 400 pounds of grain, 60 pounds of legumes, which, like beans, and they say peas and like that. Powdered milk, 16 pounds, cooking oil, 10 quarts, sugar or honey, 60 pounds, salt, 8 pounds, and water, 14 gallons, which they say is a 2-week supply. Mm-hmm. And they have a little display that they probably have in one of the churches of what it should look like, your minimum. Now, I saw people talking about this online, and there was actually a video on, Mormon preparedness and their food storage. And the guy was just like, well, there's no protein. You're not whatever. Now, the honest answer is, I think if you had this, you could probably live for a year. I think your nutrition and whatever is going to go down. But honestly, a lot of the crap that people eat, I don't think it's the end of the world either, right?
Yeah, it's probably eating healthier than most people are currently eating. But
that's not the end. This is supposed to be like the minimum, right? This is the starting point. And I'm not saying that they say, oh, you have to have more. they say if you have this, you're good, right? You meet the standard, but it's not. And honestly, a lot of the things I read in the Mormon paperwork was, we encourage it. We'd like you to do it. Do what's feasible. You build it up over time. It talks about frugality. They talk about not going into debt. They talk about not being crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was a big deal that of the stuff that I've read through is like, be prepared, but be out of debt first. Don't buy all this stuff on a credit card.
Right.
Get your debt down and then start stocking up. And I think that's a wise way to be.
So they actually put out a preparedness manual. And as far as I can tell, everywhere, actually, I went on their website, and what they sent me, the most current one is actually from 2012. Mm-hmm. So it's been around a little bit. The book is available on Amazon. It was like $34.95 or something along that line. It was, I felt very expensive. They had another option, which I actually bought, was $5.95. And I believe this is from 2011. And it is missing some of the information, but it was $5 versus 35, and I'm pretty cheap. And I also, at that moment when I made my impulsive buy, I didn't know what I was getting into as far as the book, if it was going to be a complete waste of my time or, whatever. They do, however, I'm going to put a link in the notes. We finished the live, and then I update all the links. I'm not smart enough to get the links in for the live episode. But I'm going to put all the links in there where you can get a free PDF of it. If you search Mormon preparedness download manual, it's AVOW is what it says in the description. They'll send you a link to the PDF and whatever. And I did get, that was like 3 days ago. I think I've gotten one more email of, hey, want to be a Mormon kind of thing. So, you're kind of stuck after that. But luckily I used Kevin's email, so we're good. Secret of the pros right there.
Mm-hmm.
The manual I actually found to be exceptional, and we're going to kind of go through it and talk about it. Let's talk about kind of their philosophy first. Kevin, you did a lot of insight more into that, right? That was, you listened to some sermons?
Boy, I did. I went through a couple hours worth of LDS sermons, and boring, but smart. There are a lot of smart guys in there with a lot of valid opinions and valid ideas as far as this stuff goes. As far as being prepared for yourself, your family, and your community. It's also encouraging your friends and neighbors to, do the same thing and helping them out to get prepared, which, that's a good idea. You don't want your neighbor banging on your door looking for your food. You want everybody around you to be prepared as well.
100%. That's the big thing. I mean, if we can prepare as a community or, as church, whatever your group, even as a neighborhood, then, one, you can plan in some redundancy and, and where you need extra protection. And also you can make your budget go further by certain people having certain items and, like that. But that's, for you guys to figure out. But I was really excited. So yeah, we can jump right into it. The manual, what I found was pretty awesome is the preparedness manual is just a bunch of stuff they pulled offline. It's stuff that they had church members contribute. It's stuff so it's this huge compilation. It's not one of these. I always find I feel like even the government, when they set up like ready.gov or whatever, it almost feels like they created all their information in a void or something. Like they didn't even look or consider what anybody else in the world has ever done. They're like, we're the government, we're going to figure it out, and we're going to have the best way. And I kind of always expect that from a church. And I did not find that at all. They're like survival mom blog and suburban prepper and all these different things they took from, and they have all these articles off their websites kind of thing compiled into this book. And it covered a lot of ground and was pretty awesome. So I figure I can take you guys through some of this stuff. And it was kind of crazy. I was pretty happy with it. There was they have basically principles of preparedness. It started out with, frugality, seek to be independent, become industrious. And they actually talk about, kind of learning the skills. Kevin, you said in a lot of the sermons you heard, they were talking about, sewing and some of the basic skills that people don't always have anymore. Right.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny listening in one of the sermons. One of the guy was he must have been 180 years old. He was ancient looking, but he was upset because modern women wanted to have office jobs,
right?
And they weren't doing handicrafts anymore. They weren't mending clothing and that sort of stuff. And I think it's really, you don't have to be a woman to be
handy,
frugal. And to be able to, I was in the Navy. I spent a lot of time fixing patches and fixing my uniforms, and I know how to sew. I can fix my own clothing. I can make my own clothing. I think most people should be able to do it. It's a basic skill. You don't have to spend all your day, sewing and stitching, but knowing how to do it is a basic skill that everybody should have.
Right. And that was one of the things, though. I mean, their preparedness manual, like I was saying, if it's definitely not like a homesteader manual, right? It's not like, hey, here's how you go out. And one of the things I love about it is in the first article is this is not a emergency manual. It's a preparedness manual. And they say you shouldn't go read this book after something bad happens. You need to read this book before, because it's preparedness, and you need to, establish these things in your house and learn these skills and deal with things. And then you're ready for when things happen. And one of the things it talked about was had a big article on normalcy bias. How many people overlook that? That's one of the big things we talk about on this podcast, because people are like, oh, well, it's not really that bad. These bad things aren't coming. I don't need to. And then they find themselves put in a corner where they don't have the supplies and the things they need. It has huge checklists. I went through, I think it was 8 pages of just food storage. And these are line items, so it's long. I think I can take you through it. It's kind of crazy. They have, one second. See, right. They talk about general preparedness survey, where they have you kind of go through what you have on hand, things like that. That's awesome. They talk about levels of preparedness, like how long you can go without, something bad. They talk about buying the stuff. And that's one of the things. They have the LDS store. You can actually order a lot of the canned stuff online, and they are open to the public. There's a lot of stuff. I'll put a link to that. They also have LDS stores around. I don't know if the stores are, open to everybody. Home storage centers open to the public. It does say they are. So I believe they are, because they want to be able to talk to you and, push this stuff on you. But they have a basic food storage list, right? It talks about the grains, it breaks it down, fats, but they say what they mean. They're like, hey, look, get couscous, get cornmeal, get barley, get, rice, and honestly, if we had this much variety, it wouldn't be all that bad. They talk about 20 pounds of canned meat, which is not, in that big master, list thing we had. They have just tons of cool stuff. And I got to say, even though the $5 version of the book that I bought is not as complete, it does have this master food checklist. And if you were actually going to go through the list and check these things off, you'd be able to really, accomplish a lot, which is pretty awesome. You'd be able to mark it off as you go and whatever. I was like, I usually like to just have my company where I work print out all my documents. So if I find a good PDF, why spend the $35 when I can print 500 pages on their printer? Because it is double-sided. So,
Right.
It's only like $250. Maybe I printed out the Kubota tractor manual, maybe, the different things. A lot of the new cars, they come with online training or car manuals now.
Yeah.
They don't do you print that out, just whatever. Just saying. Sorry, I got a little off task. You know how it is. I get excited about benefits, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So from the manual, I'm just going to read it real quick. It says, we have been counseled to be prepared for personal and large-scale disasters. This preparedness includes sustaining life with food storage and water supply and extends to planning for reunification after a disaster. Communication with family members, mental and emotional preparedness, and many other considerations. And I think that covers a lot of stuff that preppers don't really talk about. The mental and emotional preparedness.
Yes.
Being ready mentally and emotionally for disasters, being prepared. I see a lot of people. I've been in a lot of situations where there's been like a medical emergency or something like that. And, people are like panic, they freeze up. What should I do? What should I do? That sort of stuff, it's not helpful. It's not helpful for the person that's injured. And it's not helpful for the people that are trying to help resolve the situation. If you don't know what to do, get the fuck out of the way. Right. But you should be one of the people that knows what to do. You should be one of the people that's prepared for an emergency situation when it happens. And obviously, a long-term disaster is not the same as a car accident or, somebody having a seizure or a heart attack, but it's the same sort of mentality. Another thing that they mentioned that I just mentioned there in their heading is communication with family members and community members. We think a lot about a lot of these things as being isolated, you and your family and your house. But what about your neighbors, your friends, those sorts of people? You want to be able to establish contact with, people in your neighborhood, whether it's going next door and knocking on a door and making sure they're okay, or, whether it's, a friend up the street that, maybe they have a sick wife or a sick kid that might need help. Power's out for 2 days. They might need some help. And that's the sort of thing that, a lot of people leave out of their preps, is being prepared to help other people.
Yeah. And that's, you'd think where churches would want to be, right? I think one of the goals is to be like Christ and helping people, and was the, I don't know. Maybe I made that part up. I don't know. But anyway, as we were, they have articles talking about how to, when you cook, you're giving off smells. They were like, maybe you can use the microwave instead of the grill. Kevin, I think, was mentioning to me earlier, you don't want to cook fish in the microwave.
Yeah. Who hasn't had a workmate that used the kitchen break room or the break room to microwave fish and stinks the whole damn place up?
And then you heat up your coffee later.
Yeah, and it tastes like fish. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
All right. I'll keep that in mind. They talk about baby formula, stuff like that. It's funny. It brought to mind, there's a prepper novel I was just reading, and they had no baby formula and were kind of stuck. And the kid was like, weaning off, nursing and that kind of thing. And they ended up saying that you could use, if you cook rice, using that leftover water actually has a lot of the nutrients. And that's actually a great substitute for baby formula. And I kind of checked into that. Obviously, you're not getting all the nutritional value, but you're getting more fat and stuff in there than that's going to help the baby. Right. So, keeping babies alive, that's a big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
For
It is.
the apocalypse.
Yeah. I remember reading about during the medieval era, the Catholic Church was very adamant about, nursing and wet nursing. But what about orphans? And so you want to use the milk that's going to promote the virtues that you want a child to have, an orphan, right?
Smart.
You don't want to use cow's milk because cows aren't really, that's not really.
Are they virtuous?
Yeah, no. Donkey milk. I didn't even know that was a thing. But if you can get donkey milk, that's the go-to. That's gonna give the children the virtue that they need. Because you want kids to be like donkeys, I guess. I don't know. I don't know the
I've often said that my kid's an ass, so maybe that's
could be something to do with that.
Kevin, that's horrible. No, I didn't read anything about storing whiskey in the preparedness manual.
They didn't have anything about alcohol being stored in there. Now I know they have.
I know they don't drink coffee either.
They don't drink hot drinks. So
is that what it is?
Coffee and tea are excluded, right? I think that they implied that hot drinks were caffeinated, but you can find LDS members all over the place drinking Monster energy drinks and things like that. Not coffee, though.
Is that like the Jewish people with Christmas trees, though? Yeah, I thought so. You hear the pin drop.
Yeah, it's the Listen, I'm not going to be here splitting hairs on somebody else's religion. I'm not a Mormon myself, so I'm not going to try and I'm not going to try and tell people what they should and shouldn't be doing in their religion.
Oh man, it's an ugly world. But yeah, the manual was just awesome. I was super excited about. I had to say it's 500 pages, but being able to read through, they talk about generators. It talks about toilets, garbage disposal. And the thing is, like I said, it isn't some clown who's like, I'm just going to put together all this stuff out of his mind. He went and found, hey, this guy wrote a really thorough article on this, on, dealing with sanitation. And he went and, put that article in here. Emergency lighting. They talk about, headlamps and your everyday carry, lanterns, small, large, different, what to store as far as fuel for your lantern. There's 8 pages on lanterns in here. So it's emergency heating and cooking, wood, propane, white gas, like Coleman fuel, kerosene, charcoal, sterno. They talk about not using the charcoal in the house. Something about carbon monoxide. I don't know. They talk about the clothing you want to store.
Yeah, I think a couple of people died in that storm Texas had a few years ago because they brought their grills inside. So, to keep the house warm, to keep from freezing to death. And then, that's no good. That's
the lack of oxygen tends to get you. Yeah. They have articles on defense. And how that might become an issue. They talk about money and having cash on hand. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Bugging out, staying in the city. I mean, for one manual altogether and but like I said, it's not like a how-to. It's not like a SAS manual. It's not a how to farm. It does actually have a big section on seed storage and what seeds you might want to store.
Right.
They go through a big list on that. I mean, to me, that's pretty awesome. I mean, it really does cover, let's see, temporal preparation. That was the ones we were just kind of going through. Space cramp. And when you hoard everything and end up with too much clutter. So that's, articles on everything. Emergency generators. I think I mentioned that. Protecting yourself from terrorism. Homeland Security's advisory system, avian flu, quarantine, nuclear disasters, what to do after nuclear disasters. Like, that's pretty awesome for, a church preparedness manual. I got to say, for a church to care about its members that much, to put something out like that and actually encourage it and push it from the pulpit as something, hey, this is important. And it actually has a big chapters on spiritual preparedness too. It says the author is JC. I was trying to figure out who it was, but I couldn't find the name.
Whoever that is.
But they had, all that stuff. That's looking out for your people. I mean, these are the things that are going to matter. One of the best ways to help people is to have them help themselves, right? To teach them the preparedness skills to take care of themselves. Now, I agree. They're not, outdoor, although I think they do have a big camping program and things they do, but, kind of like the scouting stuff, right? But having your members prepared and store the stuff they need and take care of things, that's pretty awesome. It's awesome to take care of your people and, look out for them. I don't know.
Yeah, some of the headlines in the some of the bullet points in the manual were evaluate disasters and disruptions, and I think that's a valid point, is to watch the news, see what other people are doing to survive disasters, plan for disruptions. So be ready for that sort of stuff. Develop a communication plan, which I think is underrated. I know we talk about ham radios and we talk about battery powered radios and crank powered radios and things like that. But I think that's really an important thing to keep up with. Create a reunification plan. So, being able to get in contact with your family members. Plan for special needs. There's a lot of people that have medical situations that aren't necessarily common, but require additional provisions, and create a list of action items for things that require further preparation. So you have all your stockpile, you've got all your preparedness ready. You're all set, but what are going to be your immediate action steps after the disaster strikes? We talk about filling up your bathtub and, those types of things, but you need to be ready for when that stuff happens to get things set, Yeah.
No, exactly.
One of the guys I was watching was talking about, I don't know if it was $1 billion or $2 billion the LDS Church has set, just saved, just emergency, whatever it is.
Right, not going the way of our country.
They made a lot of that money by actually selling these preparedness. The foods and different things. They actually produce a lot of this stuff. He had a valid point. He said, "Why would we not be prepared for? Why would we not have money like this?" Joseph said, was it Joseph? I think it was Joseph that
that found the things.
Yeah, it was during the Egyptian period, that he had a dream that a drought was coming or a famine was coming.
Okay.
And they had 7 years to stockpile, and then when the emergency came, they were prepared for it. People were coming to Egypt to get food
as the go-to, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think that's the Bible does teach about that sort of stuff, about
absolutely
taking the time of wealth, and plenty, and being prepared.
In the spiritual section, it does go through a ton of scriptures to why we prepare, why it's important, and whatever. And it does lay out a big outline of why you should be a prepper. The biblical why be a prepper section, which is pretty awesome. I mean, it's you back up what you say with your faith. That's pretty cool. I can't knock that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are, Mormons are really, they're preparing for the end of the world. Jesus is coming back, but there's going to be 7 years of tribulation.
Not so plenty.
Yeah. So according to their their reading of the scripture. Being prepared is a major point.
Oh, absolutely. And that's important. I think that's, like I said, whether you're religious or not, it doesn't matter. The point is you need it. Well, I guess it does matter if you believe where you're going to spend eternity. That part might matter. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to be prepared. So often through the Bible, you see about, people are like, oh, I just go on blind faith. Well, no, you take steps to prepare and be ready for things.
Yeah.
You should be, the Bible talks about being a good steward of what God's given you. Well, being a good steward is taking care of things, is having things in order and being prepared. If you're like, well, I'm going to ignore fixing that hole in my roof because God will take care of me.
Yeah. Well, no, and I hear people say things like that, like God will provide. Well, he's providing right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He's providing you. You had the opportunity to get
when
ready
he sent
right
me
now.
over to talk to you about the hole in your roof and how, hey, look, we should do something here. That was it. He was letting you know. I'm just saying, just putting that out there, but like I said, it was really awesome. Their preparedness manual, as far as like an initial layout, get you thinking outside the box. Whenever people talk to us about, where do I start as a prepper? I would say that manual is an excellent start. Reading through it, understanding the concepts and, of preparedness, and then actually having a plan to put in action. It actually has how to lay it out and go through it, like buy this each week to slowly get there. They talk about canning stuff. They talk about what things you should can and how to do it. Not as detailed of a canning instruction as some, but it definitely takes you through how to do it. But it definitely says recipes and how often and what you should do in order to get to that proper preparedness level. And I got to say, that's what so many people, they feel overwhelmed by prepping. They're like, oh, it's too much. I can't take all that on. And this way it's laid out in front of you. You can just, hey, I follow these steps and good things happen. That's not a bad way to be, Kevin.
I think that's smart.
All right. I do want to point out that we finally hit like 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's kind of a big thing. I don't have any little pop things with confetti, but if I did, that's I could apply that now. That would be appropriate. I don't know if that's a big thing, but make sure you guys like and subscribe. That always helps out. As you know, the Facebook group, which somehow that's in shambles. We do have a new link for a new Facebook group that I'll put in the show notes, and you guys can make sure you check that out. Otherwise,
my wife brought that up the other day. She was scrolling through Facebook and she goes, "What happened? Your Facebook page got hacked?" I said, "Yeah, what's going on there?" She's like, "People are like cooking fish and stuff like
all the time.
It's not even for it's not even for like weird, I don't know. Did I try to
nobody hijacked it for ads? They were like, not enough people are seeing my fish. I don't know
what's going on there.
I don't know. Who knows? And but with that, I'd say questions, concerns, email us at preppingbadass@gmail.com. Otherwise, I would say stay safe, and we will talk to you guys next week.